I'm ready to smash a bird.
No quarter. I am going to be uncomfortable and all over you from start to finish.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Outside of the Box. And I am joined by the folks behind my favorite BattleBot Pokemon in the world, Kraken. So I have Matt and Sara Spurk with me today to talk about Kraken. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. Yeah, that's great.
Yes, absolutely. So, I obviously knew from chatting with you last year that there were some changes in the works for Kraken. I didn't know what that would be. Now, after having seen the new version of Kraken, I'm like, well, logically, yes, you just put a vertical spinner in the head. That makes a lot of sense. So, I was really excited to see it because the bot still looks like Kraken. It still has the same like energy and stuff like that. I mean, was that a big, a very important thing to you to make sure that it still captured that essence of what Kraken has traditionally been?
Yeah, I would say it was probably one of the biggest design goals was like we went in and we're like, okay, there's got to be these features these features on Kraken that are really recognizable to other people, right? The color, the eyes, the scales, just there. And there's a lot of like subtle details like the scalloped wings on the front armor and stuff like that, and the hammer forged teeth, and those little or smaller details that are less obvious but still kind of. We didn't want to just take a robot and put green scales on it and be like, this is Kraken, and people would be like, that's not Kraken, that's not what that is. So it was a real design challenge to try and find something that kind of bridged the gap between the old Kraken and what we wanted to do with the new bot. So it was challenging, but I really like how it turned out.
Yeah, I think it turned out well. We did consider building a completely different robot and moving away from Kraken, but the team decided that we spent so much time on Kraken and really love Kraken, so we didn't want to just get rid of her and decided to evolve her instead.
That is the best thing to do with a Pokemon. You don't want to trade it, you want to evolve it.
That's right.
So, well, I'm certainly glad that you did. Now, going into this season, I think it was, to me, I felt like the level of competition really went up because you only have 50 bots out of so many teams that are obviously trying to get into BattleBots, and so everyone is just so good. And honestly, in your first match versus Beta, I really thought Kraken looked good. I mean, you got some shots, and it's just unfortunate that you couldn't disable their hammer because I think that flurry in the end was really what decided the match. But still, like it looked like you were happy with some of what you were seeing in that match.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we were looking at that one as a good match to build off of. Obviously, we were in previous seasons, we didn't have a weapon that could do damage. And that weapon in the beta fight, you really got to see, hey, this is a bot that can actually do damage now. We can deliver some big hits. And I think that gave us a lot of confidence going into this match with Lucky that like, hey, we've got a robot that's a hitter. The drive just really let us down in the beta match. So that was one that was like, we really need to figure that one out for Lucky. And it was just overall, like we knew going into this season, we didn't have any time to test. We barely got the robot done. The day before the day of loading the crate to ship it out here, we're still welding parts together, armor packages, they're still getting welded up, right? So we were right up against the deadline of just getting the robots done, and testing time went right out the window.
Yeah, we tested the weapon one time and that was it. It spun up one time. We stood very far away.
And it was still scary. And so I think overall there was a lot of things that we needed to, like we went into this season knowing it was going to be a struggle, right? With such a short timeline, such a short schedule, and making a robot that's completely new.
Yeah, switches are the only thing that's the same on the robots.
So turning the robot on and off, still the same. Everything else, brand new. And anytime you're in that situation, you have a lot of opportunities to just stuff isn't in the optimal place, right? It's not that you mess something up. It's just, it would be better if it was an inch further or an inch wider, or if this was a little bit stronger metal here, and this is something stronger than it really needed to be. You could have saved a lot of weight here. So we learned a lot of things. We went into the season knowing we might not do very well, but we're going to learn a lot about our robot, and we're going to take those lessons back into this season and make a really great robot for, you know, the 2023-2024 season. So
yeah, and I mean, I would really imagine that doing something that's such a drastic redesign, that it really is almost like coming in with a brand new robot. You know, it's not, you're obviously a veteran team and you know what you're doing on that end, but it's still a very different experience to bring in something that's new.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just like, so with Kraken, like every year in the previous versions, it costs less and less because we figured out how to make the parts stronger, more reliable. So every year it didn't cost as much. And then when we brought this brand new robot, it was a huge just amount of money we had to put in. And then it, you know, there's supply chain issues. You're waiting on parts to show up, and parts are stuck in customs, and shipping is delayed. And so you already have a very short build schedule, and you don't have any time to do testing because you're just waiting on your parts to get there. So there was a lot of the first couple weekends were just, we don't have anything to work on this week, guys, because parts aren't here yet, you know. And so there was stuff that we were expecting to get in the first couple weeks of the build season. They ended up getting there like week 3 of like a 5-week build. So when you know you're waiting on key components for 2-3 weeks, it really puts you behind the 8 ball. And you know, so in the next season, and this is like, you could see this in the very first season of Kraken, it wasn't very good because it was the same situation. We had to buy all new parts, had to wait for all those parts to get in, short build session, no testing, right? And the robot really struggled, we really struggled, but the bot got better as the season went on. And I think you'll see the same thing here with this one, that as the season goes on, the bot gets better. And overall, like, now we've got all the parts, so we're already getting parts to test new tires. Tires were a big issue. You see them in the Lucky Fight and the Beta Fight. Tire tread was getting ripped off. So we ordered new tires, and we're going to set up a new tire test rig so we can test tires out and tune the motors so we can make the drivetrain work. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do now because we already have the parts that we couldn't do last season because everything got in so late.
Yeah, and let's get into talking about that Lucky Fight, because I'm sure, I saw a lot of fans wondering what was happening, because it seemed like you were having a lot of issues with the driving in that match, that Kraken just wasn't moving around very well. And it's unfortunate, and then at the same time to go up against a really great driver. I mean, Matt Olson, he's probably not going to make a mistake. And when you're not moving so well, you need to rely on a mistake from the other driver to kind of capitalize on something there. So kind of tell me what happened exactly.
Yeah, so so we had about 2 days, right?
Yeah, we had 2 days.
Yeah, 2 days between the Beta Fight and Lucky Fight. And we knew the tires were an issue. The tires were a real problem in the Beta match. The tires that we had, the treads were ripping off. They completely loaded all the tread up in the tires that stayed on, full of paint. I mean, they just ripped all the paint off the floor and just packed it in the tires. So we knew the tires were going to be, we're having traction issues, and that's what we thought. We thought, well, hey, we're having traction issues. So we spent a good part of the time trying to get tires cleaned up. And then also we thought that the armor might have been dragging on the ground a little bit too much, and that was causing the bot to kind of stick. And then that was making the tires have to spin because they were trying to push against a robot that was stuck. So we thought, all right, let's work on cutting some of the edges off some of the armor so we could free up some spots. And then kind of as we were making all those changes, we kind of realized like there's a problem with the tune that we had, the VESC program that we have for the motors. So the motors all have a custom tune, right? They have a speed controller, and you set up all the parameters in that motor controller based on the motor that you have. And the particular version of the software that we were running, version 5.3, had this bug in it that we didn't really know about. No one really knew about it. And the builders kind of uncovered it there at the event. So it was after the Lucky fight. Brian from Team Tantrum kind of is like, what version of software are you running? And it was like, oh, we're running 5.3. He's like, there's a bug in that version. Like, that's probably what's causing all your problems. And he sat down with us for hours. It was like probably 3 hours. He sat down with us and helped us retune the drive motors. And it was like flipping a switch on the controls. It was unbelievable, because the whole time, all the like drive testing that we've done and the testing and getting through safety and through the test box and everything, all the fights that we've had, pressing up didn't always guarantee going straight, right? Pressing forward on the stick didn't guarantee forward, because one of the wheels would lock up or two would lock up, or it just was completely random which wheel was going to turn. And so it was really difficult to try and drive when randomly one of the wheels is going to stop working, because you would press forward and the right front would lock up and it would spin to the right, and then you try and correct to the left. Well, then the right front would go and the left front would stop, and that would do a complete pirouette, and it was just a mess. So it was really fun when it actually worked, to be like, go straight across the arena and pivot 180 and drive straight back. And it was like, oh my God, this is what we've been missing the whole time. It's a robot that can move around the arena. And so, once we got kind of that issue sorted out, Kraken was awesome, because now, we have a robot that can do like 18 to 20 miles an hour. We're like Tantrum blip level of speed in the box, right? And they're very zippy robots. And now we've got a very zippy robot that's large with a big spinning weapon on it. And it was really exciting to have a robot that was that quick and that responsive. So it was fun.
Yeah, I would imagine that makes quite a difference. Yeah, that's great. Now, just talking more like forethought with the Copperhead and Mammoth, when you saw those teams on your schedule, well, I mean, Copperhead, now granted, you didn't know at the time that they were going to explode the backside of Triton, but they're known for being a destructive robot. They have a lot of power, so I'm sure that's a concern. And then Mammoth, who, interestingly enough, you've never fought in BattleBots, but I had recently talked to Ricky, and he mentioned the fact that Kraken and Mammoth have fought outside of BattleBots. So kind of tell me what you thought about those two matches, looking, ahead to those.
Yeah, I think we kind of, when we looked at our schedule when it came out, it was kind of like, all right, Beta's going to be tough, but if everything goes to plan, that's a winnable match. Lucky going to be tough, great driver Matt Olson, but that's a winnable match. There's a fight against Copperhead, and then there's a fight against Mammoth, and that's going to be tough, but a winnable match. So we kind of went in with kind of the knowledge that like Copperhead's not a good matchup for us. Their armor's so thick, they're going to be just really, really tough to get anything. There's nothing juicy for us to bite into there,
and they were looking really good at this point in the season.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Yeah, we were definitely worried, but at least our robot could drive.
Yes.
So we were much more hopeful than we were before Lucky.
Yeah,
that,
I think
we could actually have a chance.
And I think before the Copperhead match, we were the most relaxed we'd been the whole time, because the night before the Copperhead fight, we put the robot in the arena with brand new tires on it, with the weapon at full power. Everything was working great. We did a full test of the system, driving around, weapon at full speed, arm up and down, moving around, ran basically a full cycle through the batteries. And the bot was fantastic. It drove great, no little hangups. The weapon worked great. The jaw was going up and down super quick. And we were like, okay, we got something we got a hitter here. We got a fighter. Okay. And so we went into that match knowing it's going to be our toughest fight of the regular season. But at the same time, our robot is looking better than it ever has.
We did have a lot of problems the day of the match, though.
Yes, the day of the match was a different story.
We were ready to go the night before. And then we put her in the test box, because you have to put it in the test box, make sure everything functions. It's a functional test. And we go in the test box, and she starts smoking. So that was really fun.
Yeah.
What was the problem with that one?
We're not entirely sure what was going on, but the signal wires that run from one weapon motor to the other weapon motor were getting shorted against the frame, and it caused a short, and it just smoked those controller wires. And so the smoke came out of the back of the robot, and
We had to tear it all apart.
Yeah,
and we
those
put
are
it
the
back
wires.
together.
It's like you're building Kraken. The first thing you do is put these speed controllers in and run this wire under this motor. It's literally like the first step that you do is put this wire in. Then you build the rest of the robot around this wire. And so that wire, of course, smoked, and now it's like, okay, tear the whole robot apart and replace that wire.
Well, so we tore it apart, we fixed it, we put it back in the box, and then it smoked again. And we had to tear it all apart again and put it together again. And then finally on the third try, it worked perfectly again.
Yeah. I think we ended up pulling the guts out of the backup robot that we had fought against Lucky. I think we pulled those guts out and put them into the Copperhead, or into the frame we were going to run against Copperhead, because there was clearly a short somewhere that we were missing. Something was wrong. We couldn't find it. And it was like, we're out of time. This is our last chance. These electronics work. Put them in. And then we'll go from there. We'll figure out what the problem is later on.
Yeah.
And because we were supposed to be like the first fight of the first session that day. And we didn't end up, which is like noon.
Something like that.
And we didn't end up getting ready until 9 o'clock. So it was like a 10-hour day of tearing robot apart and putting it back together again, just to get to the fight. Just to get to fight Copperhead. You had the 10-hour shift in. So it was
after spending the whole day before getting it working and finally getting it working, and then she's like, actually I don't work now.
By the way, I forgot to tell you, I'm gonna catch on fire. Just something new. We thought we'd try something out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Luckily, Copperhead, they were really great, and they were very patient and, willing to let us take the time we needed to get her fixed so that we could have a good fight. They didn't want us going in like the Lucky fight knowing that our bot wasn't functioning. They wanted to make sure that, we had a fully functioning bot. So that was really great.
Yeah, that was super nice of them. And they, little Maxwell was there with them, and we know from just that situation, it's hard to have a kid at the event, especially when things aren't going to plan. Like, and our kids were way older than little Maxwell was. So he was great. The whole Copperhead team was awesome. And so it was great that they were just so patient with us. And we put on a good fight. It was fun. Yeah.
Well, we'll look forward to that one. Yeah, it's we're pretty close to, I'd say, midway through the season here, and still so much more to come. So I'm definitely excited to see that. And it was nice to see both of you out at BattleBots, and I loved that so many teams had a chance to get in there with the fans, and because that's what the fans want. And unfortunately there weren't pit tours this year, and so people didn't have those opportunities. So it was nice for people to get to see some of the robots and see the teams and things like that.
Yeah, it's one of our favorite things is after the match to wheel the robot out and meet the fans as everyone's leaving. It really makes it worth all of our time, just seeing everyone excited, especially the kids getting their BattleBots book signed, and we hand out stickers and stuff. And it makes it like, okay, we spent 10 hours of our day trying to fight with this robot just to get her to work, but this is why.
Right.
So that's one of our favorite parts.
Yeah, we didn't get to do that as last year with COVID restrictions. We weren't allowed to go out and interact with fans, and so it really that really puts a damper on it, because if you have a bad fight, the fans are still excited to see you and to talk to you about your robot.
After Lucky, we can still go outside and everyone's still happy to see us in Kraken.
Right. So and you kind of talk to them, and they're just happy to be there, and we're happy to interact with them, and it's a really kind of uplifting part of it. And with COVID restrictions, we didn't have that, so it kind of put a damper on all those things. It just made the bad times worse, not having that kind of positive experience that you could draw out of it, So this time was much better. It was a lot more fun, and it's having a robot that's new, and an opportunity to kind of grow with it. It gives you a lot of hope for the future. So I'm eternally optimistic. So
Well, that's great. And like speaking of different things in the future, one thing I wanted to kind of ask about, because I just, had asked Ricky about this as well, is Destruct-A-Thon, and like how that experience has been, having to build all of this army of Kraken for this event, and not only that, but like essentially hand the reins over to someone else to operate your robot when you're not there. Like how has that been for you?
It's been an adventure. There was a lot of planning that went into it. We started talking with them around last May. And then we didn't actually start building until December. So there were months and months and months of planning and meetings and figuring out how to make it work and how many robots everyone's going to build, and exactly what the robots are going to be, because they need to be able to withstand fighting 5 nights a week, and keep on going and going and going. So there were design changes to make them more durable. But it was a really great opportunity. We were so excited because we got to keep the old version of Kraken alive. So we have, Crusher Kraken in the live show. And so it made it easier changing to a brand new version of Kraken, knowing that, the old version is still out there and she's still fighting, and everyone can still go see her. But it was a lot of work. Building 5 Krakens is a lot. It took up all the space in our garage, because we built it at our house. And so we had to get a storage unit for all of the Krakens that we normally have in our house. And we had 5 different carts with Krakens, and luckily we have a really, really good team. We have lots of people who are willing to come and help. And so without them, it would have been impossible. But we managed to get it all done, and it was actually less stressful once the build started and we actually had all the parts arriving. We got it done a little bit early, which has never happened before. But I think just kind of like sending them away is weird, but also like we don't have that stress of we're going to go compete now. So it was kind of a balance that way. But it's pretty cool. Matt got to go out the first weekend of the show, and he got to drive for one of the shows.
He drove
for one of the shows,
Yeah.
the very first show. And it's exciting. Kraken's usually the first show of the night.
Yeah, so far it's been the first fight. Both they match up with different robots every week. They get new matchups and stuff. And we were the first matchup, and the very first show, the very first fight was us versus Malice. And so that was cool to be a part of it.
Yeah. And another cool thing is that like Kraken's on billboards in Las Vegas and on buses, and it's just, how did that happen? How did this thing that we made end up on billboards? It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, I would never anticipate.
5 years ago, we would have never guessed that was ever going to be a possibility.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of still shocked and awed that this has all happened. It's really crazy.
Yeah. We just wanted to go on the show, one time and say that we did it and compete, because BattleBots has been my passion for 20 years. Like, it's all I've done. And I really just wanted to be a part of it. And now to be at this point where like Kraken's in this nightly show in Las Vegas, and it's on a billboard, it's on a book cover, and it's like, what? Like, that doesn't compute,
I mean, it's, Kraken's iconic, when it comes to BattleBots. Like, I've always been a person that when I like the robots that I like and things like that, wins, losses, that type of thing doesn't matter so much to me. It's really about the robot and just the team and like the whole personality of the team, and like that's what I'm drawn to, and I think that's what a lot of fans are drawn to as well. So that's kind of cool that you get to have that, and I'm happy to see that Kraken is a part of this, because I don't think it would feel right if Kraken wasn't a part of this. So that's pretty exciting. Also, I have to tell you, because I told Ricky the same thing, that because I think Kraken and Mammoth are the most Pokemon of all of the robots, that if like next season you have to like get a Pokeball and like, be like, I choose you.
We have a stuffed Pokeball somewhere, so we could totally make a video with that.
Yes.
That would be pretty
hilarious. That, for the next version of Kraken, that's exactly what we'll do. We'll do a Kraken, we'll throw the Pokeball and have the Pokemon the robot appear there.
I think that would be fantastic. You know, do the whole backwards hat thing, be
Yeah, spin the hat around. Yeah, it's gotta happen. It'll be hilarious with the pirate hat, spin the tricorn around.
Exactly. I think that would be perfect. So yeah, and then we don't know for sure what's going to be happening with World Championship 8, because of the whole F1 situation. It could be in the summer. There's a lot of kind of uncertainty at this point.
There's always a lot of uncertainty. You never know. It's like 6 weeks before we're signing a contract that will be there in 6 weeks with new robots.
It's like, oh, I should probably start designing that now.
Yeah, it's never too early to start. You might as well get ahead of things. Yeah, but I mean, it's a lot of exciting stuff. And I think fans, of course, are going to continue to look forward to seeing Kraken, or whatever version of Kraken you have, in the coming seasons there. I mean, is obviously with BattleBots and stuff, that's probably a primary concentration. Are you doing any other competitions? Because obviously I know that there's some stuff that goes on in Florida. There's a pretty good robotic scene down there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Our kids, actually, Caden and Ethan, just got 1st and 4th place at their school does a robotics competition there, and they did really well in that one. So we've got our fleet of little 1 pound and 3 pound robots that we're always working on and upgrading. And then we actually were working on a new flamethrower. Just got our new flamethrower working a couple of weeks ago. So we're always working on robots at some level. Sometimes it's just cleaning up from the last project. But it's always we've always got 1 or 2 little bots ready at any one time. We were working on the flamethrower was supposed to go on a 12-pound flamethrower robot, and we were going to try and take that down to the Martin County Fair, but just ran out of time. And it was like we had to go to Vegas to help with the live show and get that set up for opening night, and it was just like I need a weekend where I'm not doing a robot thing for just 2 days. We'll take 2 days off, and then we'll hit it again after those 2 days. So
yeah, we haven't had many non-robot weekends in like 6 months, because we did the TV show, but we had to get that ready. Then we were in Vegas, then we got home, and then we have the holidays, but then we started building the live show bots in December, and then that went through like January. So we're still like just recovering from building all those live show bots and then being out in Vegas for it. So it's been a lot of robots.
Yeah. But like the little ones, and at the end of last season, we were really like trying to cope with where do we go with BattleBots here? Where do we go? It was really like building the little robots with my kids and coming up with new designs and getting, they're still excited about it, and their new robots are really good that we built together. And they're building
them by themselves.
Yeah, they're building robots on their own. So that's kind of like, it was re-energizing to just go back to, take the pressure of BattleBots out and just build robots for fun. And it was like, man, I still really love doing this. I don't want to stop doing this. I don't think I can stop, but I don't want to stop either. So that kind of, the small bots are a lot of fun. You could just do whatever. It doesn't matter. The parts are 1/100th the cost of the big ones, and so it's great to have a robot that you can just go out and it can get completely destroyed, and who cares, you lost $50, so but you had a lot of fun doing it, and that really helped get the fun back into building BattleBots.
Yeah, and it should be fun. It's a competition, so I think sometimes it's really easy to lose sight of that. But I mean, ultimately, like it is a lot of fun. And I'm sure that people will continue to enjoy the fun that Kraken brings to BattleBots year after year.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for everyone watching, please make sure that you continue to like and subscribe and comment. And as I always say, please support combat robotics. It is very important. And if you want to build a robot and you haven't built a robot, go build one. It's amazing how easy it can be to just get started and mess around with whatever you have and keep working at it. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
We had our teammate, two of our teammates just went to their first event. One was last weekend.
And then 2 weekends ago.
And 2 weekends ago. So we have two new competitors that were on our team, joined our team and help out with Kraken. And then it was like, how do I build a robot? It was like, check out Palm Beach Bots, one of our sponsors, and they've got all the stuff you need to get started. And so now they're out building robots and making fights. And if I always tell people, if you're ever trying to build a robot and you need help getting started, you aren't sure what to do, you get stuck, message us through the Kraken Facebook group or page. Happy to help anybody. Message us through the email on the cerobots.com, and happy to help folks get started. I've helped dozens of people build their first robots, and I really like it. I like talking to people about robots, believe it or not.
Yeah, give him someone else to talk to for a little while.
So yeah.
I think most people, for the most part, most people involved in the sport are happy to talk about robots with anybody who wants to.
Yes.
And that's the great thing about the community. I mean, truly, everybody just loves what they do and wants to share that passion with everyone else. And I think that that's great.
Yeah, it's absolutely the case. Absolutely the case. You could message any team and they'd be happy to help you get started with their own recommendations and their own tips and tricks. So absolutely.
Yes, for sure. So, so yeah, everyone that's out there that wants to build, just, believe that you can do it, reach out to people and make it happen. But yeah, we'll see everybody next time on the show, and can't wait for the next episode.